The latest report from Golden State is the Warriors have invited Davis Bertans to training camp. I don't know. The reporting is kind of, it's vague, right? It's like he's working out with the Warriors. It sounds like they're going to sign him to some sort of possibly training camp invite, right? To see what he's still got. 31 years old, 6'10", Latvian. Shout out Andris Biedrins. I haven't seen him since we exiled him to Utah. I hope he's still doing well somewhere out there, old goose, right? But, you know, unlike our old friend Beans, Davis Bertans is a shooter. And he's a shooter with an edge. Career 40% guy. You know, really, I mean, he's in a lot of ways like Clay, only his head is twice the size and he probably has half the talent. Right. But he has that same mentality. Like he is a gunslinger. And when he touches the ball, it's usually going up. And then what's unique about him at 6'10", he's a movement shooter. You can run him through the elevators, the pin downs, and he will shoot it on the move from pretty much anywhere beyond midcourt. Right. So it's when you hear that, right, you say, oh, it sounds like a Warrior type of player. That's pretty intriguing. Now, last year, what did he average in 20 minutes per game for the Hornets? About 9 points, 37% shooting from three. He split last season between Dallas and Charlotte. I think he was part of the Grant Williams trade, but he ended up in Charlotte. He was in OKC for a while, but where you may remember him earlier was in San Antonio. He was one of these, you know, EuroLeague guys that San Antonio found, and that's where he was his most productive. But again, a career 40% shooter. And so you can see why Kerr and the staff would be intrigued with a player like him, at least on paper. And he's only 31. I thought he might be a little older than that. And he hasn't had any like catastrophic injuries or anything. I think he's just kind of fallen out of rotations. And he's a guy that needs more minutes to be effective as quickly as he can get shots up, right? But if you just give him spot minutes, you know, once or twice a week, I think that's tough for a player like Bertans, who is, again, a gunslinger. Now, defensively, he's going to get cooked. You're going to see him get put in the basket and get mixed out on the perimeter, you know, maybe several times in a row. Teams will pick on him, but at the same time, he will check in a game and rail 3 threes in like a minute. And you're like, oh, whoa, he's hot. Like, that's a problem. And that's the thing with dealing with a shooter like that, an unconscious kind of gunslinger. He puts a lot of pressure on a defense, because you know it's going up so quickly at that size, and he's such an aggressive shooter that it puts pressure on defense, and you can see why it would fit seamlessly into the Warrior system. Last week, though, it was Bruno Caboclo who was kind of in this same spot. It was like Caboclo's working out with the Warriors, and it looks like they're going to sign him. And I had done a little profile piece on him for the Patron, and then that day he signed with Tel Aviv, a EuroLeague team. And honestly, Caboclo is more intriguing to me, maybe just because we know less about what he can do in the NBA at this point. Like, he's had a lot of stops, but not a lot of opportunities to actually play. And Bertans is the more proven commodity when it comes to NBA play. But it sounds like Bruno kind of leveraged Golden State to get the contract he wanted over there. And so in comes Davis Bertans. And yeah, I can see the vision. I can see the vision for him, and I could see him winning a few regular season games for us, just random games where it's like he comes in and hits 6, 7 threes. He's that type of player. At the same time, you know, shout out my guy, Stevie Ray. He had corrected me. He messaged me. Guy Santos, I did that video last week on, you know, these potential young guys breaking out, and Guy was at the top of my list. He is not on a guaranteed contract. I misread that, and it's, you know, so it kind of feels like they're looking to replace him, right? You bring in Caboclo and now Bertans, and it's like, I know there's one extra roster spot, but it's my understanding they don't want a full 15-man roster. They want to leave one open, or is it 14, whichever it is. I'm not sure how I feel about that, man. It does. You've spent 3 years developing Guy, and now you're going to dump him for, you know, like a right now kind of player. I guess, you know, hey, it's the window. It's the window thing. But I could make the argument that Guy could win us a few regular season games with his energy and offensive rebounding. But again, Bertans is, you know, the more known commodity. So I'm all right with it. At what cost? It feels like there's some shuffling going around here at the back end of the roster are that trying to fit Quentin Post onto the roster. I had several people message me about him saying that like they want to get him on that Trace deal, that 4-year guaranteed deal, but they've got to do some roster shuffling. And so Guy, he doesn't sound safe. As much as I've liked his development and I want to see him be a part of this, he could be the odd man out, as well as Reese Beekman. Underdog Fantasy, they're going crazy to start this NFL season. Take a look at this week 1 promo calendar here. You get the Kelsey free pick, right? More Money Mondays is a 10% profit boost on tokens. No Sweat Tuesdays, where you get your money back in bonus cash. 30% Thursday profit boost tokens. You can see there's a ton of things going on here, a ton of ways to creatively play, have fun, and hopefully win. So you can use the link in the description. You're going to get a free pick. You're going to get a 50% bonus on your first deposit up to $1,000. It helps the channel greatly. Keep an eye on my community posts. I will be posting my picks along the season with the NFL, NBA, WNBA playoffs, so you can play along with me or go against me, however y'all want to do it. But I'm ready to play some more. I had a good season for Underdog last year, and I look to keep that going as I've gained more experience on how to play these games and be successful with it. So Underdog Fantasy, link is in the description. The other thing that I've seen lately is some projected starting lineups for the Warriors floating around. Vague, no real sources, right? Almost like this Bertans news. Next thing we know, he's signed, with some Moroccan team, some Latvia team, right? So I don't know. But again, it's the beginning of September, and these are just kind of vague rumors. But I saw one lineup that was Steph, Pods, Buddy Hield, Kuminga, and Draymond. That's too small. And I mean, that is part of the mantra of this organization, right? That I don't know about that. I don't have a problem with that lineup playing minutes together, but I don't know if you want to start that way, especially with so many teams that like to start big. I guess, when they zig, you zag, but I don't know about that. But again, just a random projected lineup. But what it did trigger me was thinking about Buddy Hield and the fact that, look, the Sixers wanted him back. I believe the Lakers wanted him. There were several teams that were courting Buddy Hield, and he chose the Warriors. Why did he choose the Warriors? He was a rookie in Sacramento, and he's long looked up to Steph and Clay, the Splash Brothers, obviously. So maybe a lot of it had to do with that. The location, again, getting back towards the Bay Area in California. It could be. Or did we perhaps promise him a starting spot? Because if that's the case, I don't love that. And I like the Buddy Hield signing. It's a great value signing, and I think we all understand how he's going to fit and what he's going to do, right? But to guarantee him starting would really compromise, I think, some of these lineups. And again, I'm just shooting in the dark here. But why I say that is because there was a similar situation last year with Dario Saric, right? Remember, several teams were courting him, and we all, hindsight's 2020, but we all kind of foolishly celebrated how big of an acquisition it was. And for the first, 6 weeks of the season, it was like, okay, Dario, and then it just didn't work out. But he continued to get 20+ minutes a game, almost as if we had guaranteed him 20+ minutes a game in order to sign, because there are these handshake agreements when you're courting these free agents. You can't offer more money. Well, you got to offer more opportunity. And so I'm just curious to see how much Buddy plays and how much is guaranteed, because I said this in the Patron podcast yesterday. Like, if someone was going to be guaranteed minutes, it should be Moses Moody. We all know that ain't happening, right? But I don't like those guarantees. I think it compromises things. And I expect Buddy to be good for us. But if he isn't, or if there is matchups that, it wouldn't be good, he's in a slump, then sit his butt down, right? But if you've guaranteed it, again, I think you get what I'm saying here. But yeah, we're about a month away from training camp opening up in Hawaii. I think that's going to be dope, a bonding experience for this relatively new roster. These guys are pretty familiar with each other in the preseason games, but it sounds like that this preseason may be more interesting than it typically is because of what they're trying to figure out on the back end of the roster. Quentin Post, Davis Bertans, Guy Santos. There's going to be guys, it sounds like, fighting for an actual roster spot, which is going to make it more intriguing and beyond just the typical, well, Steph looks good, right? He's ready to go. So we'll stay tuned for that. And again, football picks, check the community posts, sign up if you haven't already. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.